Alright, guys, log in. Ready? Let's check out Little Nightmares 1 and 2 lore. The complete Little Nightmares timeline explained. Horror game theories by SuperHorrorBro. Let's check it out. Before we jump into Little Nightmares 3, we've got to check this out in order to know what exactly is happening, you know? So let's do it.
Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here, and in this video we take a step back and look at the big picture as we attempt to set a timeline to the entire Little Nightmares universe.
The only thing that was spoiled to me, which I don't know if I should spoil it or not, was the fact that Little Nightmares 2 was actually the prequel of Little Nightmares 1.
3 games in total: Little Nightmares and its DLC.
Wait, hold on. We can't. Is it gonna have Little Nightmares 3 lore or not?
Spin-off Very Little Nightmares and a full-fledged
okay. So this was before Little Nightmares 3 came out. Okay.
These games are connected, but how? Well, sit back, relax, and get ready for a guide through the events of these games.
Grab some snacks.
That makes most sense, at least to my mind. In addition to nailing down a rough timeline, this video will aim to contextualize various elements using theories that seem most logical. With all of that said, let us begin at the very start of this nightmarish tale, with the origin story found within Very Little Nightmares.
Oh, we never played this. Very Little Nightmares. Whoa!
Back in 2019, Very Little Nightmares was a touchscreen puzzle game.
Wait, this game is so cute. What?
It used hand-drawn visuals to tell the story of a character, which at first glance.
Wait, no, this is so cute. What?
Using this familiar character, players explored.
I didn't know this game existed. Did you guys know?
Cliff face in the middle of the ocean, a place known as
Very Little Nightmares.
It is eventually revealed that this character is not Six.
Oh.
Her name is simply the girl in the yellow raincoat.
Wait, so that's not Six.
A raincoat she eventually loses as she plummets to her death while being chased by a monstrous child known as the Pretender. We can clearly see from her haircut that this girl is not Six.
Oh,
however,
shoot.
Six does feature throughout the game.
Oh.
A fellow prisoner who ends up fleeing the nest alongside the girl in the yellow raincoat and escaping.
So she got robbed
after her companion.
That's crazy.
A watery grave. Before the events of Little Nightmares 2, I had assumed Six acquired her iconic yellow raincoat after leaving the shore of the nest.
She really stole that rain jacket
out of the water.
Yeah, it's a mobile game apparently.
By the mysterious boatman character and taken to the moor, or perhaps simply washing up beside it and finding her way inside.
This ginormous ship
is now proven incorrect.
Alright, Little Nightmares 2.
How do we know Little Nightmares 2 takes place in the weeks and months after the story of Very Little Nightmares? Well, there are several reasons to make this
I died so many times here.
If we look at the digital comics, which acts as a precursor to the events of the sequel, we see Six without raincoat and looking as if she just stepped off the raft at the end of the mobile.
I always thought oh my gosh. When I started the game, I thought it was like after in the storyline, but it makes sense now.
Mono witnesses, and seemingly the reason he sets off to free Six at the beginning of Little Nightmares 2.
Just to get betrayed?
When we discover Six, there are several key points of interest found within her prison room. First of all, the music box, an item comforting her during her imprisonment.
Oh my gosh, how did I miss that? That was literally the music box that she was playing with when we first met her.
We see a representation of this music box at the end of the game, Monster 6 holding it with extreme importance. In fact, the signal tower uses this box.
She was low-key tough, not gonna lie.
Her to its spell.
That boss battle
referenced in the first
almost had me rage quit.
The scene in Little Nightmares 2 seems to be Six's first introduction to the item and the reason for its hold over her. She connected with it as a coping mechanism during a time of great emotional trauma in her childhood. Also look to the chalk sketches on the walls, presumably the work of Six while being held here. The tally marks are easy enough to explain. They signify a passing of time, maybe days, weeks, or months. Six has, after all, been here for a while. We also see Six has drawn an image of the signal tower. This drawing is almost an exact match for those scenes sketched by the bullies within the schoolhouse. To me, this suggests the signal tower has already began calling to Six and hypnotizing her with its corrupt transmission, much as we see with the other wretched creatures of this world. In fact, later in the game, as the two adventurers pass by the tower, Six stares up at it as if under a spell. This may well be why she was so easily manipulated, distorted and corrupted while held prisoner within. The tower already held sway over her mental state. But most interesting of all, the sketches are for people we have seen before. People with their faces scratched out, as if to suggest they are now dead. The sketch on the far right represents a person falling. Remember back to the final moments of Very Little Nightmares, the girl in the yellow raincoat who fell to her death at the hands of the Pretender. It seems this sketch represents her. But then, what about the others? Well, for now we must move on, but don't worry, we'll be back to revisit these sketches at the end of this video. You may be asking, what about the yellow raincoat? Why did Six not have this key item if this game follows on directly from the events of
That's what I was wondering, like she picked up a brand new yellow raincoat, just like, what, like, super coincidental? They just found another one?
Easy to speculate on. The main point to bear in mind is that while we see Six about to leave the shore of the nest aboard the driftwood raft, we never see her collect up the floating raincoat. It is therefore logical to conclude this raincoat took the same tide as Six and washed up ashore near the Pale City.
That makes sense.
However, unlike Six, it was not collected up by the hunter, but rather a denizen of the city itself. Eventually, its wearer was either taken by the signal tower, once again leaving the coat behind, or it was simply discarded. After all, these city streets are full of discarded junk at every turn. This is why Six finds it far from shore, yet looks on it as if it holds some connection to her previously, reminding her of the child who helped her escape not too long ago. One more thing that really connects Six to the events of Very Little Nightmares preceding this game can be seen by her uncomfortable demeanor while riding the floating door across the river mouth here. It makes sense when we remember she had recently escaped a traumatic experience within the nest using the exact same means, an escape method which led to her capture by the hunter.
Oh,
skipping to the end of
imagine escaping one place just to get kidnapped again.
Imprisoned once again, this time within the walls of the signal tower itself. Here, its distorted signal twists and corrupts Six in ways all too familiar to anyone who has encountered
that's so
monsters
terrifying.
such as Roger the Janitor. The signal tower uses Thin Man's power to warp and distort
Man's
reality,
power.
which ravages the world and does exactly
You mean
the
Michael
same
Jackson?
to poor Six.
Slenderman?
More importantly, it pulls from her memories to create a prison for her. While examining the items found within this room, many look eerily familiar.
Yeah, I got destroyed multiple times,
we will
unfortunately.
This concept at the end of this video. Mono eventually manages to cure Six by destroying the music box, an item, as stated before, which binds her to this monstrous form. This leads to the signal tower revealing its true form, a living mass of flesh made up from the bodies of those it consumes.
Oh,
while escaping, Mono
pretty
drops
disgusting.
behind Six and she grabs his hand to prevent him falling, but decides in a cruel turn of events to let her friend fall. Most likely because she senses the darkness calling him from within and has witnessed Mono's dangerous powers, which she feels threatened by. Of course, Six unwittingly dooms the world by doing this. Mono is imprisoned by the signal tower and his powers used to distort
where the nightmarish world is created and a cycle begins in order to
and
salvage.
warp the world throughout space and time. This creates a time paradox where Mono has always been Thin Man and so calls out to his past self so he may be freed from this prison within the tower and finally have a chance to break the cycle, saving the world and its inhabitants from this terrible fate.
Little Nightmares Timeline
Six
Game
leaves
3.
the signal tower, but part of her now belongs to it. As seen with the glitching remains of the ghost children we find throughout Little Nightmares 2, her connection to Mono and the tower separates Six's soul from her body.
Oh, this is the secret ending.
The loss of Six's soul leaves a great empty void.
Oh, and that's why she's super hungry in the first game.
Satisfied. This is the birth of Six's hunger, a hunger we contend with throughout the very first Little Nightmares game. Confirming Little
She was
Nightmares
already
2
skin and
is
bones
indeed
before.
the second game in the timeline and a prequel to the events of the original.
Oh, there's the real timeline.
That Six's spirit energy looks down at a poster of the Maw, suggesting the TV6 exits the tower through is either aboard the Maw or she is given the idea to head there in order to gain access to the power she needs to be cured. Powers she eventually procures from sorceress the Lady. With this information in hand, the first game is pretty self-explanatory. It is the third in the timeline, continuing Six's story as her hunger begins to destroy her from within. The ending of Little Nightmares 2 also sheds light on a possible explanation for the shadowy figure of Six that watches over her each time she feasts. This is the half of her lost after escaping the signal tower.
Did I notice it while I was playing that?
To properly quench its
I don't remember if I noticed it or not.
Elements of the soul Six herself has lost. This explains why, in a cruel twist of fate, Six eats the gnome child.
Oh
and
my
not
gosh,
the
when there's a
sausage
whole
it offers up
sausage
to
right
her.
there.
It also explains why, upon killing the lady and consuming her dark magic, Six then uses said power to drain the life force from everyone else aboard the Maw. She has become a monster herself, a monster with a never-ending hunger, sucking the life from anything that stands in her way. So, let's tie up some loose ends and wrap up this video. Returning to Six's chalk drawings in the hunter's house, and things suddenly click. Starting at the signal tower and working backwards reveals our timeline. It shows past and future, but not yet present. To explain, look to the far right, and we see events as they happen before Little Nightmares 2. The death of the girl in the yellow raincoat as she plunged to a watery grave.
It doesn't really
Then we
look
see
like
tally
her.
marks representing a passage
So it's
of
kind
time.
of
These
hard
lead
to tell.
An empty gap. But why is this empty? Well, because it marks the current period of time for which the outcome is not yet determined.
I see.
But perhaps this could be filled in with Mono, like so.
Rip.
Moving on, we see another passing of time and then a drawing of the runaway boy and his gnome. This was the character found in the DLC Secrets of the Maw, which ran in sync with
Which
the
I did
events
not
of
play,
Six's
by the
adventure
way.
in the original
We
game.
jumped straight
Another
into
character who died by
Little
Six's
Nightmares 2.
hand, as seen earlier
So it's
in
really
the
good to
video.
know.
Finally, another shorter passage of time and the death of the lady. This brings us bang up to date with the story of Little Nightmares as we know it, and everything ties in to that image at the back of this room, the signal tower itself. What's interesting about the placement of the signal tower drawing is how it's sketched upon a different wall surface. To me, this makes sense as the signal tower exists on a separate plane of existence within time and space, a dimension where time is fluid and past, present and future are as one. This explains why we see items from Six's past and future within this same room. Take from
You know, I always wondered like why there's so many floating things around, but it all makes sense.
From the Maw, it doesn't exist in her memories as of the story of Little Nightmares 2, but can still appear in her
Holy.
prison within the tower due to its
It's the
ability
same
to draw
suitcase
from
too with
events
the
still
two
to
images.
occur. Look to these portraits for example, and again we see a timeline represented right to left. At the far right we see Six as a child, cowering in her raincoat. Then, in the centre, an image representing the lady, her face scratched away to represent her demise. On the left, we see a horrifying face, but one that's
It's kind of hard to see though. You have to like
It
actually.
looks similar to that of a granny found in the depths of a Maw.
I mean, you kind of
had
have to like
theorized
analyze
previously
everything
that this granny
while
is
the
what would
game is
eventually
paused.
become of the lady as her powers ravaged her body over time. The pretender from Very Little Nightmares, the next in line to take the lady's place after she herself took the place of the previous granny. Again, it's all one big cycle. It seems as 6 consumed the lady's power, she may be in for a similar fate, to become disfigured and monstrous over time.
Oh no.
This portrait showing 6
doomed fate in Little Nightmares 3? I guess we're about to find out. I guess we're about to find out today.
Does happen, we will witness this horrifying transformation, unless Mono finds a way to escape his Thin Man fate and break the time paradox that is. One question remains. How is 6 able to draw from memories of her future?
Mochi.
Memories she shouldn't
Hello?
yet have
No,
access
no, no, no,
to.
no, 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 no.
Well, if we think about the
She's trying to get up on the PC. No, no, Mochi. No, no. Mochi. Mochi. No, 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 no. No, 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 Mochi. Alright, we're about to be done. We're about to be done. She started button on cable, so.
And what they represent in literal terms, we can jump to some logical conclusions. Mono means one, only, or single. This makes sense as the origin of this terrifying world falls to Mono and his fate as Thin Man within the Signal Tower. There is only one Mono, and he is the ground zero event which triggers everything before and after. While running toward the door, Thin Man is
Moji wants to see the Lord
if
too.
we pay close attention, we can see the number 6.
Dude, now that's just like reaching super hard.
The 6th cycle within
It's kind of hard to see. Very hard to see.
Has her name due to being the catalyst for this particular cycle. She triggers the events that doom this world each time when handing over Mono to the Signal Tower's control. If this theory is correct, then 6 is simply the 6th of her kind, with 5 prior versions existing in different failed timelines. So, with this concept in mind, we can conclude 6 may retain faint memories of her 5 prior incarnations. Of course, this is a stretch, but this is the only way the rest of this theory makes sense, and why else feature the number 6 on the door here, and use such numerical terms for both protagonists.
1 and 6.
Either way, that head-scratching conundrum brings us to the end of this video looking at the timeline of the Little Nightmares universe. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, remember
Hey, I'm glad SuperHorrorBro made this video, and now we're about to find out what's gonna happen in Little Nightmares 3. That was a great video. That was a very great video. The link will be down below to the original video,